This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following the breaking news in the extraordinary and escalating war between the Republican Party and its presidential frontrunner, Donald Trump. The billionaire businessman now saying GOP rules are, quote, stacked against him. And Trump is calling out the party chairman, Reince Priebus, by name, saying Priebus should be ashamed. Priebus is about to join us live for his first interview since this unprecedented political clash. And we're also standing by to hear from Donald Trump. He's about to hold a rally and possibly lob more verbal bombshells at his own party. We're also counting down to tonight's third and final CNN Family Town Hall. Ted Cruz and his wife Heidi, they're about to take questions from New York voters ahead of the state's critical primary now just 6 days away. And there's more breaking news. President Obama making a very rare appearance over at CIA headquarters this hour to discuss ISIS. He's meeting there with top national security advisors. All this comes as the U.S. is weighing its next steps in the war against the terrorist forces. We're covering all of that, much more this hour with our guests, including the Republican National Committee Chairman, Reince Priebus, and our correspondents and expert analysts. They are also standing by. But let's begin with CNN's Sunlen Serfati. Sunlen, you have more on this latest development, this war, as it's being called, between Trump and the GOP establishment. This simmering disagreement, Sunlen, over delegates seems to be completely boiling over. What's the latest?
That's right, Wolf. It absolutely has, as Donald Trump is increasing his outrage over the nominating process. The head of the RNC is intensifying his pushback of the frontrunner. This feud and this battle between them now escalating tonight to new levels.
You're saying that you don't think the RNC wants you to get the nomination?
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Tonight, the feud between the GOP frontrunner and the head of the Republican Party is erupting into an all-out war.
Because of all this shenanigans that goes on. And this
but
is
you call them shenanigans. Those are the rules. And didn't you know those
You know
rules?
why the rules? I know the rules very well, but I know that it's stacked against me by the establishment. I fully understand it.
Donald Trump taking his criticism of the GOP nominating system's rules to new heights, now accusing the Republican Party of conspiring against him to prevent him from winning the nomination.
Listen, they changed the rules a number of months ago. The people in...
About 8 months ago.
Well, it's not very long ago.
But you had a lot of time to prepare
You know why they
a
changed
better
the rules?
organization.
Because they saw how I was doing, and they didn't like it.
And Trump is now making it personal, calling RNC Chair Reince Priebus out by name, telling a newspaper that Priebus should be ashamed of himself. Priebus quickly firing back, saying the Trump campaign should have known the rules, tweeting, quote, nomination process known for a year and beyond. It's the responsibility of the campaigns to understand it. Complaints now? And taking a shot at the frontrunner, quipping, give us all a break. Senator Cruz on the trail in Pennsylvania today, continuing to mock Trump's outrage over the nominating process.
Anytime the people vote against Donald, he screams the voters are stealing the election.
And setting the expectations sky high for Trump in New York's primary Tuesday.
Donald is looking pretty strong in New York. It's his home state. You would expect him to do well in his home state. And if Donald doesn't get north of 50% in his home state, I think that's widely going to be seen as a crushing loss for him.
This as Trump today sat down with Fox News' Megyn Kelly, who he has taunted and antagonized, the two meeting face-to-face at Trump Tower in New York. Meantime, at CNN's town hall, the Trump family trying to soften his image.
I'm incredibly proud of my father. I'm amazed and truly in awe of what he's accomplished and what he's accomplished throughout the course of his life.
Though admitting that they have tried to referee him at times.
You're still tweeting.
If he would only listen. I did many times. And I just say, okay, do whatever you want. He's an adult.
Right.
He knows the consequences.
Trump conceding that he's not ready to fully be presidential yet.
I have two more people I have to take out. And when I take them out, I will be so presidential you won't believe it.
All this as the Trump campaign does seem to take more pointed steps now at trying to play the insider game a little bit more today, tapping a GOP insider, Rick Wiley, to be their national political director, and also are set to have a series of congressional outreach meetings tomorrow in Washington, D.C. Wolf.
All right, Sunlen, thanks very much. Sunlen Serfati in Erie, Pennsylvania for us. Let's get some more on all of this. The chairman of the Republican National Committee, Reince Priebus, is joining us now live. Reince, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
All right, so Donald Trump says you should be ashamed of yourself for the Republican delegate selection process. He says it's rigged. What do you say? What do you say to that allegation?
Well, I mean, it's clearly not. You know, look, all the candidates have the rules of the game, and they've actually all been participating in the rules. So in the case of Colorado, all of the candidates were participating. And let me just say, in Colorado, it wasn't just a weekend state convention. The convention system, which is used by some states, not a lot, actually started a month ago in precincts where 60,000 people participated. Then it went to the county. Then it went to the congressional districts, Wolf, and then it went to a state convention, and the candidates all participated at every single step of the way. So there were no complaints about that system, at least in Colorado. The second thing I'd say, Wolf, is that the RNC doesn't subscribe for the states what states individually want to do with how they allocate their delegates. These are decisions that each of the states make. Under our rules, those decisions have to be submitted by October 1st of 2015, which they were. And by the way, the consequence of not submitting a plan by October 1st of 2015 is that you would have to then use the same delegate plan that was used in 2012.
But
so
Ryan,
this was all
let me just
published and
interrupt.
it's all been out there.
But I understand all these rules. They're very complex, and all the states, Republican parties and all the states, they have different rules. But he specifically said, you, and you're the chairman of the Republican National Committee, you should be ashamed of yourself for what's going on. How extraordinary is that?
I have no idea historically how extraordinary that is. Given the year we have, I honestly don't take it all that personally. But I do have to respond, though, when a campaign says that the RNC is, rigging the rules. It's just not the case. The rules have been set. They're in place. They're not going to change in these states. And they're the same, for the next state, New York, they're all out there. Everyone knows what the rules are. So I have to respond, though, if the party of which I'm the chairman of is getting attacked, especially when it's not true.
Because he's clearly attacking not just you personally, but he's attacking the Republican Party, saying it's out to prevent him from getting the Republican nomination. I know you met with him a couple of weeks ago in Washington. Have you reached out to him? Have you tried to call him? Because I know you're exchanging tweets with him. You're tweeting, he's tweeting. Why not just talk to each other and see if you can fix this?
Well, of course. I mean, and I'm, the campaign and the RNC, they're talking every day. I know. Well,
why not you? Why not Reince Priebus? Why don't you just pick up the phone and call Trump and say, you know what, Donald, this is getting out of control?
Right, and I do agree with that. And so I will do that, I'm sure, because we talk a lot. I talk with all the candidates a lot. So we will. This is going to blow over. I believe this is some frustration that has bubbled up. And look, the rules are there. I know people get frustrated and they're disappointed when things don't go exactly the right way. I think when people are frustrated and upset, they say things that they regret. But certainly one thing that's true is that the rules are not being changed in order to injure or benefit anybody. They are what they are. They're in writing. They're available to anyone that wants to participate. And actually, state by state, they're not all that complicated.
As you know, so far, if you do all the math, add up all the votes that have actually occurred in the primaries and in the caucuses, he's about 2 million votes ahead of Ted Cruz right now. He's got a lot more pledged delegates at the same time. Should that make a difference in this process right now? Because normally a front runner like that, the party would sort of consolidate around the front runner and move on.
Yeah, but it does make a difference, Wolf, because Donald Trump has a lot more delegates. So you're right. He got a lot more votes, and he has a lot more delegates. So it does make a difference. But at the end of the day, you do need a majority of delegates on the floor of the convention in order to be the nominee. In the case of 2012, Rick Santorum dropped out. And then and only then, when Mitt Romney was alone and the only person that could actually get the majority, did we declare that Mitt Romney was the presumptive nominee. So we might have a ways to go before that happens. And when we do, we're going to support the nominee, whoever it is, 100%.
If he doesn't get that nomination on the first ballot, and it's possible he might not, and he loses on the second ballot, how worried are you that there will be millions of Republicans who voted for him who will be so angry they will feel this was stolen from them?
Well, there were millions of people that voted for Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich in 2012. I mean, you know, the point is you have to have a majority. We've never had a nominee of our party that didn't have a majority. We've never had a president that didn't have a majority of the Electoral College. You know, I don't know what's so complicated about a majority in the United States of America when our country was founded on the concept of a majority. There's not going to be any bending whatsoever on that rule.
Because he says he has a majority of the actual votes. You're talking about a majority of the actual delegates that are needed to win the nomination.
He has a plurality of the votes, of the actual vote count, but you have to have a majority of the delegates, and so that's what the rule is. I'm sorry, I can't change the concept of a majority in the United States of America, and nor would I want to.
Reince Priebus is the chairman of the Republican National Committee. Reince, lots going on. We will stay obviously in close touch with you. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks, Wolf.
And just ahead.